All eyes ahead for 2019. We're here to report on the future of the Dallas Cowboys. We move forward with new coaches. We break down the draft, fine-tune the roster, and ask who's getting paid and who's got to wait. And as usual, we bring you insider access to OTAs and minicamps, priming you for 2019. We're the Blitz, and we're bringing it all to you, straight from the Star.
It's time for another edition of The Blitz, your Dallas Cowboys report. Bill Jones joined by Mickey Spagnola this week as Lindsey Draper is off vacationing somewhere this week. We got one more week here of the Cowboys offseason. 3 big mini camp days coming up. We can watch all the practices this week. It's a big week coming up, Mickey.
It sure is, and it's the last week, right? So the way I look at it is after these mini camp practice, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for the Dallas Cowboys, it's the first day of summer, even though the official first day of summer is not till the 21st.
And we're just over 6 weeks away from the start of training camp in Oxnard, California. But let's take you back to Thursday here at the Star. I think this is the best day of each offseason the last 8 years under Jason Garrett with the Cowboys. This was Cowboys U when the Cowboys players get to coach high school kids that are invited to the Star for a full day here.
You know, I'm not sure which group gets the biggest benefit from it. It's the young high school players who get to rub shoulders with the Dallas Cowboy players, or if it's the Dallas Cowboys players who suddenly become coaches and actually have to call plays and give out instructions. And I think they get a little bit better feeling for what their coaches have to go through when they're coaching them during a season or during a game, but they sure get fired up about it.
They do. They don't have to call plays. They get to call plays.
Yeah, right.
And it was Dak Prescott and Jalen Smith's team that won it all in the 7-on-7 tournament. All right, some big breaking news this past week in Philadelphia that might affect things here in Dallas as Carson Wentz has a new 4-year extension on his contract as quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. 4 years, $128 million. That averages out to $32 million a season, but that amount doesn't kick in for another couple of years. He's still got his existing deal.
Right, exactly, Bill, and I think that's what everybody needs to take into account because he's under contract now because they picked up his first 5th-year option for 2 more years. So if you divide out his total over $154 million over 6 years, then it's about $25.5 million a year.
So where does that affect Dak?
So I always thought when they were going to look for a contract for Dak, I always thought around $25 million a year. And I think if you look at the inside of some of these contracts that have been written for quarterbacks, yeah, everybody looks at the big end number, but if you look inside the contract, most of those contracts are averaging somewhere between 25 and $30 million a year. And again, the Cowboys just need to decide when they want to get it done because they really haven't made a big push to try to negotiate this contract this summer. So again, my point is, if I'm going to pay you early on my bill, then you better give me a little bit of a discount because you're getting your money 2 years before you really have to get it.
And so the team looks at it as $25 million a year. The agent looks at it as he's getting $32 million a year. All right, Sean Lee returns for another season. New role for Sean Lee, the Sam linebacker in this Dallas defense. We had a chance to catch up with him this past week.
I think, well, I got a lot of hope from Coach Bloom, who's got a ton of experience coaching a lot of different positions, coaching outside linebacker, coaching inside linebacker, and he's been an extreme help. Like I've said, the situations, some of them are very similar to what I've done in the past, where I'm off the ball, I'm able to run and move a little bit. Sometimes I'm on the ball, and, you know, I've tried to pride myself on being versatile, being able to adapt, being able to play different positions and learn them, and hopefully become an expert at it. So I have a ton of help. I love being out there, and I think I'll improve as I go.
I love Sean Lee as a strong side linebacker where you get 3 linebackers on the field, Sean Lee, Jalen Smith, and Leighton Vander Esch.
You know, when the thought first crossed my mind when they said, well, Damian Wilson is leaving, who's going to play strong side linebacker? And I'm thinking, well, why not Sean Lee, right? And I asked the question, can Sean Lee play strong side linebacker? And the answer I got from somebody that should know said he can play anywhere we want him to play, and that means strong side linebacker. And they can do different things with the strong side linebacker to help cover him up. And I think the good thing, Bill, is the fact that if you look at what happened last year with the strong side linebacker, Damian Wilson played 27% of the snaps. So that would reduce his role, keep him healthy, and he can fill in at either of the other spots as he has done during the mini camp with Leighton Vander Esch suffering that pelvic injury. He's out there playing with Jalen Smith on the nickel defense.
Well, and then you also look at them. These are all smart players, too. You can mix them up a little bit. And if you feel like Jalen Smith can rush the passer, you can play Sean Lee as a traditional middle linebacker or weak side linebacker. Jalen Smith can rush. There's all sorts of things that they can do now with this defense.
And the other thing they can do, and you know they like to play that three-man front. So if they want to play three linebackers with an extra DB, certainly can do that, too.
It's going to be fun to see how those linebackers are employed as we get into the regular season, which isn't that far away. And a conversation with Nick Eatman isn't far away either. He is up next. He's getting wired up as we discuss the backup quarterback situation on this Cowboys team when we come back in just a moment.
The Dallas Cowboys Blitz is brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. And by Dallas Cowboys Football Club. For the ultimate Dallas Cowboys experience, tour the Star in Frisco, where the Cowboys train and work. For more information, visit thestarinfrisco.com/tours. This segment is brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing.
As soon as you step on the field, you're putting your resume is what you put on film. So, and I think all the quarterbacks, all the good quarterbacks know that you go out there and you got to take a sense of pride in your work and what you do.
It's a constant battle. The NFL's every day is competition. So I mean, every rep you get, you make the most of the opportunity.
Cooper Rush versus Mike White, one of the competitions this offseason for the Cowboys, as we welcome you back here to the Blitz here at the Star in Frisco. Bill Jones and Mickey Spagnola, and time for another call to the bullpen this week. We're going to call on the right-hander in the bullpen as Nick Eatman of DallasCowboys.com joins us. And Nick, how much as we go into minicamp week this week, are you keeping an eye on that backup quarterback situation?
Well, I think it's a good problem to have when you're focused on the backup quarterback and you're focused on some of the backup positions. Now, certainly there are some positions of starting spots that are still up for grabs, but when you're looking at backup quarterback, looking at OTAs, there's not a lot of ways to really evaluate how these players are doing. Now, quarterback is one of them. Did he make the pass? Did it look good? Was it a spiral? And so, yeah, we're looking at those positions. I think Cooper Rush, Mike White. What was interesting was talking to John Kitna, the new quarterback coach. He said it's an absolute clean slate. These guys haven't played a lot of snaps other than just a few preseason games, and so he comes in here and nobody's ahead of the other. Cooper Rush is not ahead of him because he's played more as the backup, and Mike White's not ahead of him because he was a draft pick. It's a clean slate, and I think you said it, Mike White versus Cooper Rush, and I would add versus the rest of the free agents that are out there, because if they struggle, they'll look and probably find someone else.
Nick, it looks like they've been alternating who's taken the second team snaps. One day one guy goes, the other day the other guy goes. So when we get to training camp, what do you think, let's just say Cooper Rush, what does he have to show to retain that backup quarterback job?
Well, I think that, obviously they have to move the ball and be successful. That's what got him here in the first place. The fact that Cooper Rush was having success in those preseason games, they were moving the ball, they were scoring touchdowns, that's how he landed at that spot. And so, one thing I think is really interesting is when you look at the backup linemen, we've seen preseason games where in the second half, the linemen can't keep the quarterback upright. With some of the guys that they've added with the offensive tackles that are undrafted. You know, some pretty good quality players there. I think they'll be able to move the ball, and so it's really who's efficient. They'll have good running backs, some good receivers as well. So yeah, I think it's all about who's efficient, who can get the ball into the end zone, and Cooper Rush will probably get the first crack at it. But you know, they drafted Mike White. They want him to succeed, so it'll be very interesting to see how that shakes out.
Yeah, that's the interesting part of this. Cooper Rush, of course, an undrafted guy a couple of years ago, and then they draft Mike White out of Western Kentucky in the 5th round. What is it that you think that they really like about Mike White?
Well, he's got size, number one. I mean, you know, it doesn't mean that, you know, the shorter quarterbacks can't succeed. We've seen a number 1 draft pick here, you know, the last 2 years. But I think that he's got that size. He's working on his mechanics, of course, and John Kitna will be a guy that really helps him. But he's got good poise. He doesn't seem like he gets too rattled with the situation. So I think that there's a lot of upside there with Mike White, and you know, with Rush as well. But you know, the one thing to kind of factor in is that every time you're talking about any other position of, are they going to go long at tight end, or are they going to go long at running back or receiver, it always comes back to quarterback. Well, do they have to keep 2 quarterbacks, or are they going to keep 3? So it seems like the backup position always affects some of the other position battles around the roster.
Yeah, you look around the league, rosters around the league, it's a luxury keeping 3 quarterbacks on a roster. Nick Eatman, we appreciate it. Mickey and I come back in a moment as we take an up-close look at one of the free agent newcomers on this Cowboys team, Randall Cobb. It's Point Counterpoint when the Blitz continues.
This segment was brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing. That's our thing. This segment is brought to you by Formation. Work the Cowboys way at the Star in Frisco. Formation offers workspaces, dedicated desks, and private offices. For more information, visit formationatthestar.com.
Welcome back to the Blitz, your Dallas Cowboys report. Lindsay Draper might be on vacation this week, but she's still putting in the work, hosting Point Counterpoint.
Got to pay Dak Prescott.
I threw out the name Ezekiel Elliott. What do you guys think?
This offense was atrocious before he got here.
The guy at his age doing what he did, he's only going to get better.
Time for a little Point Counterpoint here. In the studio, Rob Phillips and Brian Broaddus are going to help me out. These guys have spent hours at practice now that we're allowed to be back in there this offseason. So let's talk about a lot of free agent additions out there. But, Rob, I got to ask you first, was Randall Cobb the biggest one for this team?
Easy. Without question, Randall Cobb is the best offseason acquisition for the Cowboys because why? He was a pain in the you-know-what for the Dallas Cowboys for years. 5 games that he played with Aaron Rodgers against Dallas, a couple playoff victories, we all know about those, 178 total receiving yards in those 2 playoff wins for the Packers. They have a lot of evidence on tape of how difficult he is to defend, and they're happy he's on their side. This time we watched him in OTAs. He looks like a pro, a guy that can play any position for them and be effective for Dak Prescott.
Extremely intelligent, too.
Yeah, but you know, Robert, you got to know this. It's about getting the quarterback on the ground. Robert Quinn is the guy that's going to make the biggest difference. I do love me some Randall Cobb, but I will tell you that when you talk about pass rushers in this league, Robert Quinn still has that ability. You know, don't let the age or anything bother you, but they got him paired up with Lawrence on the other side is going to wreak havoc on opposing offenses this year. Robert Quinn will be the best addition the Cowboys have made in several years.
Wow, several. Okay.
You gave me the Robert. That kind of sounds like my dad talking to me here.
Oh, I'm talking to you. You know that.
I know. I honestly, I think Quinn is going to be an addition, a valuable addition, but I think it's tied a little bit to Randy Gregory's indefinite suspension. However long he's out, they really need Quinn on that right side, and he's going to help regardless. But I think the more glaring need is that slot receiver position.
Well, that's why you get
without Beasley here.
You got to get Jason Witten. Jason Witten's going to make all those plays underneath. You know that.
Red zone, but this is
first down, third downs.
Cobb's an explosive receiver.
He is.
He can stretch the field more than Beasley, it seems like.
I think the run absolutely.
Get the quarterback on the ground, Robert. You know that.
That too, and score some points too.
Game is one up front, I'll give you that, but Cobb seems to be different than Beasley. All the time we have today, we got much more coming for you this offseason, though.
I'm going to side with Robert Phillips on this. I'm going with Randall Cobb. When we come back here on The Blitz, Danny Sarek joins us, takes a look at a free agent safety looking to make an impact.
This segment was brought to you by Formation. Work the Cowboys way at the Star in Frisco. Formation offers workspaces, dedicated desks, and private offices. For more information, visit formationatthestar.com.
Welcome back to The Blitz, your Dallas Cowboys report. Bill Jones along with Mickey Spagnola, and time to bring in Danny Sarek now with a look at one of the new faces around the Star this offseason.
We've touched on new rookies who have joined the team this offseason. However, now I want to touch on a new veteran to the roster. Safety George Iloka spent his first 6 years in the league with the Cincinnati Bengals and spent last year with the Minnesota Vikings. Iloka joined the Cowboys this past March and says he's most eager about learning a new scheme, a scheme in which he describes as one that will allow him to use his strengths to reach his goals.
My goal is just to bring my physicality to the game, set the tempo, set the pace with, enforcing my will, so to say, down there in the box, and then being impactful in the pass as well. So throughout my whole career, I try to use my size to my advantage and my abilities to create advantages in my favor and use that on the field.
Iloka signed a one-year deal with the Cowboys in March. He says he didn't have expectations about joining the team. He was just ready for the chance to prove his value.
I came here because it's an opportunity, and I'm trying to, impact this team in as much ways as possible. So I didn't really come in here with expectations of anything, so to say. It was just an opportunity for me to kind of get back to what I love doing, and is being physical and playing and being out there and making plays and stuff like that.
Iloka describes the Cowboys coaching staff as refreshing in terms of how hard and fair they've worked him while teaching him a new scheme.
I would just say the hardest transition is just I've been in one system for 7 years, and so this is a completely brand new system, completely brand new terminology. End of the day, it's still football, so when I get to those things, it's like riding a bike for me. But just learning the nuances and the ins and outs of things they want. Obviously I can hit, run, tackle, and do all those things, or you wouldn't be in the NFL as long as I have been. But every defense, every team wants things done a certain way, expects things to be done a certain way, and so it's just learning that and coming along fast. That's where I'm at now, so to say.
Iloka says as a player, he doesn't get caught up in which city he plays in. He just wants to play. In his 8th year in the league, he wants to perform better than ever.
I feel like I haven't reached my potential yet, and I know people gonna hear that and be like, oh, you're 29, you are who you are. I disagree. Body-wise, I feel great, and so I feel like this game being different, and it uses me in a different way, it uses the position, so to say, in a different way. I feel like I could tap into a whole nother level that I haven't in my career, just in the way that they use the position.
Iloka says he wants to beat the best numbers he's had so far, which was in 2014 with the Bengals. He finished with 74 tackles, 10 pass deflections, and 3 interceptions. Iloka's goal is to beat those numbers and have the best career season he's had so far. Bill?
Like what I'm hearing from George Iloka there, but where do you think he fits in on this Dallas defense?
Well, I think he feels like he's going to fit in better in this defense than he did last year in Minnesota. They were playing him deep. He's a kind of a box safety. I know he's 6'4", but he's also 225 pounds. So, Bill, I think they try to play George Iloka closer to the line of scrimmage, maybe take some pressure off Jeff Heath at times. And again, if they go to a nickel defense and they need somebody to cover the tight end, he's big enough and fast enough to go out there and take one of those pass-catching tight ends.
Still time left here on The Blitz for Mickey to give us our player to watch as we get closer and closer to preseason games in just a moment.
The Dallas Cowboys Blitz was brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. And by Dallas Cowboys Football Club. For the ultimate Dallas Cowboys experience, tour the Star in Frisco, where the Cowboys train and work. For more information, visit thestarinfrisco.com/tours.
Just time enough for Mickey's standout player, Reggie Davis.
Better keep an eye on him. This guy can run. He turned in a 4.29 40 bill when he was getting ready for his pro day coming out of Georgia several years ago. As one person I asked in the scouting department, what do I need to know about Reggie Davis? They said, he can run out of sight.
I'll say, while the wide receiver core is something to watch when preseason games come along. For Mickey Spagnola, I'm Bill Jones. We'll see you again next week here on The Blitz.